Right, quick video going over how to change the settings for SpinMod. So this is where you want to go: Steam Apps, Common, Beat Saber, User Data, SpinMod, Spin Profiles. And you won't have the copy there, I don't think. Well, no, you won't. And rather than going into Beat Saber and changing the mod settings to use a new spin profile, I just edited the one that was selected. So I think this is the one that's there by default. So anyway, if we open that, we can see what's inside the file. It looks kind of complicated at first. Bring that in. So this is how the profile works. It has periods, and in there is different sections that it goes through, and then it starts from the top again. So this first one, by the way, if you haven't got this editor, it's called Notepad++. It's really useful for editing files like this because it gives you little hints that Windows Notepad simply wouldn't be able to do. It gives you these lines and things like that. Makes it much easier to read. So, like if I click this bracket here, it's highlighting this one as red because it's showing me that this bracket ends there. And say this bracket is highlighted red here, so this bracket is there. And that is what contains information. So end rotation is a parameter, and inside that parameter, or the content of that parameter, is anything that's inside these brackets. And such as periods has a squared bracket, which should in theory end there, okay? Because it contains all of this information. These are all periods, right? So let's look at the first period, which it starts here and ends here. So the duration of the period is 5 seconds. I'm not too sure what type 1 means. I'm not sure if it matters. Some of them are type 0. That's a type 1. Maybe it's what direction it goes in. I'm not sure. Just leave it like that for now, I guess. Smooth factor, I'm guessing, is going to smooth it out a little bit. I haven't experimented with that. But the start rotation is interesting, right? It's the position of the camera at the beginning of this period. So in this period, it's going to start at this location. And in case you haven't dealt with X, Y, Z coordinates before, that is the 3D position in the game world from the 0 point. So I think the 0 point is going to be where you're stood, and then the Y is the rotation around your position. So it starts there, and then it takes 5 seconds to move to this location. So the start rotation, all of that information, and the end rotation is all of that information. So it'll start there, take 5 seconds to move to this location, and then the next period starts. And the beginning of this period needs to be the same as the end of the previous period. It doesn't have to be. You could experiment, but it's going to be awful because as soon as it finishes this period and begins this one, if it's a different number to that one, then there's going to be a sudden jump in the camera. So so from your perspective as the player, the whole environment would suddenly shift just instantly to this position, and it's quite disorientating. It's like, oh, what's going on here? There's no movement. It's just an instant switch. So that's why it's important to make sure those are the same values so that the next movement is going to be a smooth movement from the previous period. So there you go. It's going to start there and move to there. And then it's going to move from that position onto there. It'll take 5 seconds. And then see that marries up with this. It's going to move from there to there. You see that's the same as this. It's going to move from there then to there, which you'll notice is the same as, because it loops back around to the top. So 0, minus 15, 0. 0, minus 15, 0. And that's what it does, is it's swinging slowly back and forth. So you could even put a blank one in. You could have a period which has got the same values in both the start and the end rotation, which you see here, which means it's going to hold the position for 5 seconds, right? So it's going to move from there to there and then stay there for 5 seconds, and then it's going to move back and it's going to stay there for 5 seconds and then begin moving again. So that's basically it. So you could really experiment with these figures and see where the camera is. You could have it swinging above your head. I've got it going from side to side. And of course, this figure is what defines how far it swings. You could have it swing all around so that you're facing the camera. You wouldn't get to see much, you only get to see behind the player. But in theory, you could have it a full 360 degrees around if you want. It all depends on what you want to do. But this is the start point and should get you up and running. Hope this helps.